Happy Monday. So, today we're talking about how AI can help you optimize your LinkedIn profile so you will get better visibility, engagement, and attract more opportunities. So, before we dive in, we're going to talk about more on that in a minute. How was your weekend? Over the weekend, we celebrated my daughter's birthday, and I think she's officially a tween. I don't know exactly the years it starts, but she acts like a tween. We had two parties to schedule. She wanted one with the friends and one with the family. So, like two cakes, one shopping spree, out to eat. Yeah, it was a lot of coordination, but I think it was worth it. I think she's having a good time. So, how about you? Let me know in the chat. I'm curious how your weekend was, and happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It's a very special day all around. All right. So now it's time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I like to call the three P's of LinkedIn. If you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer, be sure to like this post, whether you're watching live or from the replay. Also, drop your questions into not the chat per se, depending on where you're watching this, but into the comments or into the chat if you're watching on YouTube. And I'll either answer them after the show or in a future episode of Mondays with Mindy. Okay. So you can always reach out to me directly to Mindy@MindyRamsey.com if you want to not post publicly. Feel free to email me. All right. So let's get to today's topic. Are there good ways to use AI to help you give your profile a refresh? Okay, this can be a sensitive topic for some. So last week we talked about some really great reasons to refresh your LinkedIn profile and the most important sections to focus on. So this week actually builds on that topic, especially for those of you who want to use AI as your writing assistant, but you also don't want to like lose your voice or completely outsource it. You're like, okay, give me some tips and tricks here so I am making the most of using AI, but I'm also not falling into the pitfalls and traps where my profile just sounds robotic. All right. So late last year, I was kind of in a different place with AI too. Like end of last year, I started looking at it more. I also started experimenting more. I do write a good number of LinkedIn profiles, and I was like, should I use it? Should I not use it? It's like this, you feel kind of torn, especially if you have a little bit of hesitation around using AI. Like, how do you use it? So I worked with a client. This client was struggling to land interviews for a role, even though they had like incredible experience. Their profile, you're like, well, it's okay. It's not great, but it just didn't pop. It didn't reflect their expertise in a way that would stand out to recruiters. It was also missing a good number of keywords. Like if you actually looked at the searches, the LinkedIn searches that this profile was popping up for, you're like, ooh, those are not at all what should be showing there. So we decided, okay, let's revamp the profile, and I'm going to experiment a little bit with AI tools to see what we can do to optimize it. So really the results that we got were exactly what we hoped for. AI is not like a one-stop shop where you just like upload your profile and boom, you get like this beautiful, gorgeous profile that sounds like you. It is a bit more of an iterative process. So, you know, so what we were hoping for, we got it, but it did take some time and how to work with it. So we're going to talk about some prompts and stuff later too. So after the refresh, this person's profile started popping up for the right searches for relevant roles. That's important, especially if you are trying to either get hired or be found. If you're trying to make sure that your profile is positioned in kind of the right searches on LinkedIn. And they also felt more confident submitting their resume and profile for higher level roles. They're trying to get to that next rung in the ladder. And if you're only focused on what you've done in the past, a lot of times you're going to be missing those keywords and phrases that you need for like that next leap. So am I going to make a claim here that dozens of recruiters were flocking to their profile? No, that's not realistic. If a LinkedIn guru makes that type of claim, beware. It's like if it sounds too good to be true, it likely is. But what did happen was that they were able to get unstuck in that job search because their profile actually was optimized for the roles that they wanted and that they were open to, not just the positions and experiences that they already had. So that's the key here. Okay. So it's not a miracle. Wow, AI is going to just make your profile the most amazing thing ever and you don't have to do any work. No, there's a good amount of work, but it's figuring out how to use it. So let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes professionals make when it comes to LinkedIn profiles, especially those who are hesitant around AI, is just deciding to kind of put their heads in the sand and ignore AI tools completely. Okay. It's easy to do this, but here's the reality. Most professionals, especially those who are looking for jobs, especially those that you may feel like you are competing with in some way, or those those of your competitors or people who may be vying for the same roles as you are, they're likely already using AI in some way, shape, or form to enhance their profiles. So, whether it's for keyword research, content suggestions, crafting polished descriptions, AI has really changed the game when it comes to creating profiles that stand out. Okay. If your profile isn't optimized for the right keywords and phrases, you are going to risk being overlooked in searches and by recruiters, especially those who are using LinkedIn to find people. So if you don't already have a good number of connections and people you can reach out to help you land that next role, and you are relying on search on LinkedIn, you probably should be looking at AI and at least using it in some small way to optimize your profile. The good news, you don't have to be an AI expert to take advantage of these tools. You can think of AI as your writing assistant. That's what I do. That's how I treat it when it comes to marketing. Now, when it comes to school, AI is a big no no. But when it comes to marketing and our LinkedIn profiles, AI is very helpful. It is not a replacement for your voice. It's not a replacement for your expertise. You can't make stuff up here. What it does is it helps you work smarter by doing the heavy lifting. So, analyzing job descriptions, suggesting key phrases, even helping you with like refining and polishing certain sections of your profile. So, you actually have to provide the insights, and then the tool will help you refine your message and you can tweak it so it sounds like you. All right. So there's a lot of going back and forth. And I think people think, oh, people are just cheating using AI. I'm like, well, it's a lot of work to use an AI tool well. So you do keep that in mind and don't let the fear of technology hold you back. Like with AI powered tools, there are so many of them now. You can actually ensure that your LinkedIn profile is not just polished, but it's also Lee, that's a great word, strategically optimized to get noticed. So it's no longer a nice to have. AI is the expectation in some way, shape, or form. So staying ahead means leveraging whatever tool you want to use to showcase your skills and to stand out in a very crowded professional space. Again, if everyone's using AI tools, maybe not everyone, but a high percentage of people that are really trying to stand out on LinkedIn, you need to actually look at it and give it a second look if you haven't. So let AI do the hard part so you can focus on what matters most, which is your career, which is networking, which is connecting on LinkedIn. So don't waste all that time like trying to get just the right words or get all the keywords in. AI can kind of help you with all of the minutia so you can focus on the bigger things, which that's what AI is intended to do. It's intended to do like that stuff that is very tedious that we don't want to do, but not outsourcing things that are like thought leadership, connecting, interacting with each other. That stuff should be done by us. Okay. So is AI going to take over your profile? Well, one of the biggest myths I hear about using AI on LinkedIn is, Mindy, but is it going to make my profile sound robotic or is it inauthentic to use an AI tool? This is a valid concern. AI is a tool. It is not a substitute for your voice. You have to use it thoughtfully. You have to use it in a way that is authentic to you and also in a way that enhances your message without stripping away your personality. Again, it's a dance. It's learning how to use this tool in the right way. Most professionals, like I said, are already using AI to work on their profiles. So it is the norm. It is not the exception. If you are worried about sounding too automated, consider this. AI doesn't take over your profile. It just helps you refine it. So it's kind of like, you're writing what you're putting on your profile is kind of like the steak and AI is kind of like the sizzle. to the stake. It just kind of helps you make it feel a little bit more polished. It helps you identify keywords and phrases that align with your skills and your career goals. And this helps your profile be optimized for searchability. And at the heart of your profile, the experiences, accomplishments, and personal tone, that is still yours. I mean, you can decide to outsource it to AI, but then you're going to sound like everybody else. And people will be able to tell. There are certain words that when you see them, you're like, that's an AI word. When I see like ensuring or crucial or critical, a lot of times I'm like, or things that sound too like magnetic, or things that sound a little too excitable. I'm like, okay, that's AI. So AI can be used to enhance your message and just, kind of add that polish, but do make sure that you are looking for key terms and words. Sometimes AI overuses things, so make sure you're still going through it and making it sound like you if you're going to outsource certain sections. So if you're neglecting AI tools, you are going to be at a disadvantage. Recruiters, potential clients they're increasingly searching for profiles that stand out in a sea of sameness. So again, there's that delicate dance. You don't want to sound like everybody else, but you also want to make sure you have the right keywords and phrases so you can actually be found. So it's like having that personal writing assistant. It saves you time, helps you with visibility, and so you can show up as the best version of yourself online. And again, you're outsourcing the tedious stuff to the AI and working with it to do so, and then focusing on the power of LinkedIn, which is really about relationships and connections. All right, so kind of keep that in mind. It's okay. AI is okay to use if you're using it in a responsible, ethical manner. And the expectation today is that your profile is not just written, that it's optimized. All right. So you're not starting with the blank slate. Most of you are not brand spanking new to LinkedIn. Most of you have been on LinkedIn for a while, so you have a starting point for your profile, even if it's not great. So you're going to be optimizing what you already have. And with the right tools, you don't have to be a tech expert. I'm going to talk through some prompts today. It's pretty basic too. Once you start learning and play with a tool like ChatGPT or Claude, you're going to get more comfortable in prompting it and getting at what you're aiming for with your copy or what you want the AI to do. So it's kind of like your partner, your sidekick, and helping you create a profile that gets you the results, but you're still staying you. And AI isn't something to fear, shy away from. It's really designed to help you shine, and don't let it replace your voice or creativity. It's really easy to do. And it's funny because I was, was looking through my feed around like the holidays, and you could actually tell because I went in there and I'm like, oh, I'm going to write a holiday post. So let me use ChatGPT to kind of, get things going. And so I could see like there were at least 3 people who used the exact same prompt template and wrote the exact same post. And LinkedIn actually, like the LinkedIn editors actually picked up one of them and highlighted it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's straight from ChatGPT. And they're like praising it as so well written. So be thoughtful in how you're using AI because it can come across as like, me too, inauthentic, and you don't want it to take over your profile. You just want it to kind of help you with certain aspects so you can be found. All right. So you're still in the driver's seat. You're still making all the big decisions about what goes on your profile. You just have tools at your disposal. And I kind of think of AI as like when Google search and search engines came around, way back when I was a wee one, and we were looking things up. We're like, oh no, we're not going to need libraries anymore. Oh no, we're not going to need books because we can just search for everything on the internet. We are kind of in those early stages of AI and kind of figuring out where it fits. People were so afraid back then. It's like we've adjusted, we've adapted. Google search engines can't do everything for you. The same with AI. It can't do everything for you, but it can help you just like streamline the process. All right. So don't spend and waste hours of your time trying to tweak your profile without using some tools. Like it's okay to use the tools. It's accessible to everyone. You don't have to buy a paid subscription. You can just play with some of the tools and figure out which ones work for you. I've experimented with a few, and some are better for like searching, others are better for writing, and you're going to figure out what style and if you need to pay for it. Okay. It is not about just jumping on a trend. It's about meeting professional expectations in a very competitive marketplace, which is what LinkedIn is these days. And the profiles that get noticed are the polished, optimized, and strategic ones. All right. So let's dive into the how to use AI to optimize your profile. We kind of talked about why it matters. Don't be afraid of AI. Use it as your writing assistant. Everyone, not everyone, a lot of people, especially those who are competitive, are trying to get new jobs or find leads. Business owners, they're using AI. So make sure that you are at least somewhat familiar with the tools and how you can use them in a responsible way on LinkedIn. And again, AI cannot read your mind, and you still need to do your preparation before expecting it to spit out a polished professional profile. You like my alliteration there? I thought about that one. Polished professional profile. So be sure to reference the session I did last week as like a point of reference for the most important sections to focus on for optimizing. So if you go to my live stream from last week, or if you're reading this version, you'll see that we talked about the 2025 LinkedIn profile glow up. Look for that one, type in my name, you'll find it. And that actually, especially the last half of that live stream, or if you're reading it, those are the most important sections to focus on. So you can kind of pair that with what we're talking about today. And that will help you as you're reworking your profile for 2025. All right. So your goal, again, create a polished, engaging, and keyword-rich profile using tools. All right, so step number one, you really want to gather your key information. This is where people can sometimes get it wrong because they don't do enough preparation and they just expect LinkedIn to, or ChatGPT or whatever tool they're using, to just kind of spit it out. You need to make sure that your resume is up to date, that you're using your existing LinkedIn profile, that you're pulling in any new accomplishments, any new things into those materials. Make sure you have all of that handy. Do a brainstorming session before you start sitting down to rework your profile, because the more of that information you have up front, the smoother the process is going to go for you. And you'll be doing more prompting versus like, oh, I don't have this. Oh, I need to go grab this. So make sure you come prepared. I like to also think about any target roles or industries. So if you're positioning yourself for a certain type of role, make sure that you're thinking through this. If you're positioning yourself for a very specific job that you want to apply to, and you really want to make your profile match that role, make sure you have the description with you, because you can pop that into your tool and say, hey, this is my profile, and here is the role I want. What needs to happen here so I match that based on my skills? So there's some really clever things you can do with this. If you're trying to be open to, a few different roles, then have those job descriptions handy. It doesn't have to be the exact one, but just look for the specific job titles and search on LinkedIn or elsewhere, and have that copy handy, because that will help you with optimizing your profile. So I like to use job postings. Think through industry jargon. So like certain keywords that'll just let people know that you know what you're talking about. You know what they are. If you're a developer, you're going to use certain keywords then that are very different, and like a little bit of insider baseball than what a marketer would. I don't speak that language. So you do want to kind of hint at these things and speak a little bit of insider jargon is good. So you could also use a tool like, I haven't used this tool, but some people have told me it's great, Job Scan, to gather relevant keywords. A lot of resources, but just gather all your materials so you have them. I like to have them open in all my windows, or just, in a folder where I can easily access them. All right, then number two, you want to first focus on your headline. I like to kind of work on the LinkedIn profile from top to bottom. Sometimes I'll jump around, but if I'm reworking someone's profile, that's what I usually do. And here's a sample prompt. You can say something like, make sure you have the headline you have handy, and just say, create a LinkedIn headline for, insert your job, role, or your field, that includes specific skills or keywords. All right. I like to ask for like 4 or 5 sample headlines, and then I'll look at them like, oh, I like that phrase. Oh, I like this, and you can kind of see the types of phrases. I tend to not always like the first few options that something like a ChatGPT or an AI tool gives me. I too like to turn it into a little bit more of a value proposition. But what I will do is make sure I have those keywords that it spits out. So, for example, it might give you something like data driven marketing leader, the little up and down line, driving engagement and growth, CRM and analytics expert. You're like, okay, those are all like job titles. So I would add a little bit more of a value proposition. So data driven marketing leader, helping, what types of companies are you focused on, and focused on what types of companies you're focused on. And then talk about like three things that you're really good at that you do well. So you're kind of giving a little bit more of a job title, who you help, how you help them, and then if you want to include some results that people get in working with you, you can. And then add any other keywords that don't quite fit after that or any other roles. For example, if you have a full-time role and you also sit on boards, then maybe you have like board member in there or at the end, or maybe you're an author, so you have that listed at the end. So a lot of ways to play with this, but AI can help you with especially the keywords parts or playing with key phrases for your headline. But I tend to not like the headlines just that it spits out. I tend to not like them. I tend to massage them a bit. All right, number 3, craft a strong about section. Okay, so this one is tricky because it's the longest section, right? So what you could do is you can just take what you have or an executive summary or a bio and say something like to the AI prompt, write a LinkedIn about section for a fill in your role with this many years of experience that highlights, insert your skills, achievements, goals, and ends with a strong call to action. Then see what it spits out. You would want to definitely prompt it and say, rewrite this LinkedIn about. And you also are going to want to make sure this matches your voice. So there's going to be a lot of massaging after you get back what the AI gives you. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll also put in the job descriptions, one by one and say, now rewrite the section with this job description in mind, So these are ways that you can play with it. Sometimes it will spit out inaccurate information, or it will say that you have experience that you don't have, so really be thoughtful about how you use it. There's a lot of back and forth that happens with the about section, but if you use it well, it can be really helpful, especially if you're stuck on the about section. Okay, so I do highly recommend it, but you're going to have to play with it and keep prompting it. So the follow-up prompts, it's like refine this section. I didn't like the second paragraph, like rewrite it with this keyword and this key phrase. Oh, wait, this doesn't have the data and analytics experience I need, so really play with it. It'll take you a few times, if not more, to get it just right. All right, number 4, highlight your experience. So you can use this for your experience section. So an example prompt, write a LinkedIn experience section for a fill in the blank job title at specific company where I insert all of your resume bullet points, and then include measurable results in action verbs. So that's a prompt that you can use. And if you want to see these all spelled out afterwards, I will have an article that sums all of this up for you, so you can just reference the article. So do make each bullet point clear, concise, results focused, but this is where kind of reworking what you have for your resume and make sure that it's in paragraph format. So I will usually say to the AI to make sure that this is in, 2 to 3 paragraphs of, these bullet points, sum them up in a way that matches whatever the title is. This is a really great way to rewrite your experience sections, because you don't need to spend as much time telling a story in the experience sections. It's more about the facts. So AI can be really helpful, and you don't have to do as much massaging of the text afterwards. All right. Number 5, showcasing your skills. So on LinkedIn, you can have up to 100 skills listed on your profile. I don't use them all yet, but you can. And so what you'll want to do is take the skills, like copy and paste the skills that you already have from your profile, put them into the AI, and then say, and see how many that is if you don't know. And then say, I need 100 skills. Make sure not to include these. I need a total of 100 skills. Don't include these ones. And this needs to be, for insert job title here, or based on my profile above, especially if you have, a chat going, based on my profile above and the job descriptions above, add another 38, skills that I can list on my LinkedIn profile. This is really helpful, right? Because it used to be so tedious to try to figure out what other skills to add to your profile. And now AI is great for just kind of pulling out the keywords and key phrases to get this list. If you don't want to use AI for this, that's fine too, but it really helps, and it's pretty simple to do, and it's a great use of the tool that doesn't feel inauthentic, and it's not going to take away from your voice. It's literally helping from a search and keywords perspective. All right. Moving on. So number 6, you want to refresh your call to action. So every about section should have a call to action. So what you're going to want to do if you don't have a good call to action is you want to prompt it and say, what's a strong call to action to include in my LinkedIn About section to encourage connections or recruiters reaching out to me for job opportunities. You can go through a number of different things. Like, what do you want people to do after reading your profile? Do you want them to message you? Do you want them to email you? Do you want them to connect with you? Subscribe to your newsletter, check out your website, look at your portfolio. So, this is what you want to think about with your call to action. All right, so that's a nice way to kind of figure out what your call to action is if you're feeling a little bit stuck. All right, number 7, review and refine. Okay, so when you are feeling good about your LinkedIn profile and you're like, okay, I feel like I got the meat of it, but I need to polish it up a little bit. So then you want to prompt it and say, audit my LinkedIn profile section for clarity, engagement, keyword optimization. And are there any sections that need improvement? Rewrite those sections and highlight them for me. There's a number of ways that you can approach this, but just see, sometimes it'll give you like 2 versions of a section and you can kind of choose which one you want. And also, the more that you use AI, the more comfortable you're going to get with prompting, but do ask it to review and kind of audit it. Also, another good thing to do old school is just read it out loud, because when you're reading it out loud, you can hear what sounds off. And this is when you really want to pay attention to make sure that your profile doesn't sound like it's purely AI generated. So AI can help you make sure it doesn't sound too AI, which is interesting, right? All right, so number 8, you want to test your keywords and phrasing. So a prompt here, if you don't like the way that it sounds, you can just say rewrite or give me 2 or 3 options for this specific section to better align with industry trends and searchability, or make it sound a little more casual, or make it sound a little more professional, or a little more authoritative, or there's a lot of different ways that you can prompt it to get at what you want. And once you found some good prompts, the more that you practice using your AI prompts and the verbiage, the better you're going to get at it to get what you want. All right, so then update your profile to ensure it ranks higher in LinkedIn search results, kind of based on what it says. I also like to say something like, when I'm looking to make sure I have all the keywords and phrases, you can ask it, say, are there any specific keywords or phrases that are missing from my profile or this section that match a specific job description? So there are different ways that you can kind of prompt it to make sure you have the right keywords and phrases. All right. And finally, the final proofread. So you can actually prompt it, or you can use a tool like Grammarly, which I really like too, to proofread your LinkedIn profile and ensure that it's free of errors, flows naturally, and just paste whatever section you want it to proofread. And again, review for consistency and tone. One of the big mistakes people make here is that they're like, oh, great, it's done, I'm just going to put it up, and they don't review it. And you can tell, like, it feels like this section was written by a human, this was like AI, or it just doesn't tie together. And you're trying to feel like there's something missing. It doesn't feel like a coherent narrative. So do make sure to do this like one section at a time, because you may run out of characters if you're trying to get it to analyze your entire profile, all your experience sections. It's depending on what tool you're using, it may not be able to do that. So do one section at a time, especially if you're on a free version of the tool, to kind of assess, for all the proofreading stuff, or use Grammarly, which I really love too. All right, so optimizing, in conclusion, optimizing your LinkedIn profile doesn't have to be overwhelming or time consuming. With the power of AI tools like ChatGPT, you're going to have everything you need to create a profile that not only tells your story, but also gets noticed. So whether you're looking for a new job, you're building your personal brand, you're showcasing your expertise, small intentional changes can have a big impact. And you can just do one little section at a time. You can say, I just really want to focus on my headline, or I just want to focus on rewriting my about section, or this experience section, especially my most recent experience section, just it's missing something. And use AI kind of as your writing assistant, helping you find the right words, keywords, and phrasing. And again, you're still going to have to sound like a human. Excuse me. And put your own words into it, but it will give you a starting point, so you're not looking at a blank page. All right, so give it a try. I'm curious to hear how you feel about it. If you have a specific tool that you like using, especially for LinkedIn profiles, put it in the comments, because I love to hear what other people are using. I'm not the most AI tech savvy. I've not tried every single tool. I'm not like the ultimate prompt person, like has like a huge list of prompts for you to try. I use it kind of naturally and like an everyday AI user. So I encourage you, you don't have to get it perfect and you don't have to become a AI tech expert unless that's your next role, your next job opportunity. But then you're probably not watching this video because you already know how to do all this. So use AI to polish your profile, to refine your story, and make sure you're putting your best professional foot forward because your next big opportunity might be one optimized profile away. So if you're ready to get started with LinkedIn and take that next step to optimize your profile once and for all, give it a try. And you're going to have to, I shouldn't say once and for all, because you are going to be optimizing your LinkedIn profile until you are no longer working. So if you want to do that big, nice overhaul, great. Use AI, use the live stream from last week. And if you want, to get tips every week about LinkedIn and content and strategy and profiles, hop over to my website to join my weekly email newsletter. I only email once a week, so I won't spam you with emails. It's mindyramsey.com. So just my first and last name. And you can hop on my list there. And I send out emails every Thursday. So you'll get something from me, LinkedIn related. I will see you all next week on Mondays with Mindy. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below. And you can always DM me too if you want to message me directly. All right. I will see you all next week. Have a good one. Bye for now.